What's up, guys? Paranormal Perception here. If you're new to this channel, swinging by for the first time, please subscribe, and thank you to all the new subscribers over the past few days and past few weeks. I really appreciate it. 3 ex-NASA scientists claim the giant face and pyramid found on Mars in 1976 are actually real. Found this article off of humansarefree.com. I'm going to give a link in the description below. You can just check it out for yourself. But let's go ahead and get into the article. Viking 1 launched on August 20th, 1975, and Viking 2 was launched in September of the same year. Both probes photographed the surface of Mars from orbit, and one studied the planet from the surface. The first one touched down on the surface of Mars on July 20th, 1976, and the second a couple of months later. The main objectives of the mission were to obtain high-resolution images of Mars, to take a look at any evidence of life, and to learn more about the structure and composition of the atmosphere. An enormous head nearly 2 miles from end to end seemed to be staring back at the cameras from a region of the red planet called Cydonia. A pyramid structure was also seen. The question to ask here is, did NASA know the information from the Viking data in 1976? According to multiple insiders who have worked for the agency, NASA is not always honest, and we are only being told this now because they believe we are ready to process and accept these facts. The first ex-NASA scientist is Dr. John Brandenburg. He has worked for the government with top secret security clearances on various projects. Here's what he had to say. Someone complained to me, "John, why do you have to bring Cydonia into this?" And I said, because I can read a map. Here's what's at Cydonia Mensa. There's the face on Mars. There's the D&M pyramid. Here it is, the second shot. This was taken July 25th. This was taken 30 days later. The government was apparently doing a follow-up investigation. The second is Dr. Brian O'Leary. Dr. Brian O'Leary was a NASA astronaut and a member of the 6th group of astronauts selected by NASA in 1967. After this, he was recruited by Carl Sagan to teach at Cornell University in the late 1960s, where he researched and lectured in the Department of Astronomy and Physics. O'Leary started to examine some of Carl's work. He said that the famous face in Cydonia on Mars, photographed by Viking in 1975, this enormous formation about a mile across, resembled a human face and created a major buzz at the time, was tampered with by Sagan before being released to the public. Quote, "It was very, very disappointing to me because not only was Carl wrong, he also fudged data. He published a picture of the face in Parade magazine, a popular article saying that the face was just a natural formation, but he doctored the picture to make it not look like a face." The third ex-NASA scientist, Dr. Norman Berggren, a mechanical engineer. Dr. Berggren has worked for Ames Research Laboratory, NACA, National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, and Lockheed Missiles and Space Company, now known as Lockheed Martin. Berggren accuses that agency of garbling photos and fudging data, as well as the face that was found in Mars in 1976. And now I'm going to leave off with this lecture of Dr. John Brandenburg talking about the pyramid and the face on Mars.
Here's what's at Cydonia Mensa. There's the face on Mars. There's the D&M pyramid discovered by DePietro and Molinar. Here it is in the second shot. This was taken July 25th. This was taken 30 days later. The government was apparently doing a follow-up investigation. These two pictures tell you everything you need to know about what is Cydonia Mensa. If you see on a planet that used to be Earth-like a carved human face and a pyramid within 5 kilometers of each other, and this thing looks like some kind of other kind of ruin in between, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what this all means. You can connect the dots. Most people who have followed the Cydonia controversy know that NASA supposedly took this picture to lay the whole problem to bed, put the whole problem to bed. They released it unenhanced. In fact, they left-right reversed it and released it unenhanced, and they didn't tell anybody that they were taking the picture almost from the side. This is a three-dimensional reconstruction by Mark Carlotto of what the face would look like from the Viking pictures. Here's the picture they took. Here's the view from above that everyone was expecting. Notice the round crater beside there. This picture was taken recently, by the way, only about 5 years ago. This is what they released, was a blatant cover-up. I mean, sometimes, and I can tell you as a scientist, I've seen other scientists do this, if you're cornered, you just brazen it out. You hold up a picture of a buffalo and insist that it's a dog. And if anybody, then you glare at the audience. If you're Professor Blowhard Rhinoceros, then you can actually intimidate your other scientists into not questioning your assignment of the title of dog to what is obviously a buffalo, Plains buffalo. But in this case, what I've decided is this picture, this visage appeared actually in 2 different Hollywood movies shortly thereafter, showing how frightening it was to actually the public. Hollywood picked it up to scare people. One was The Mummy. You'll see this picture in there. And also it was in The Fellowship of the Ring, the squid-like creature that appears out of the lake when they're trying to go into Moria. Actually, if you look at one moment, it's actually this picture. And it's got nostrils in the nose, 2 eyes, nose, mouth. It's got ornaments on the helmet. This is a rotated 3D image. By the way, these were done by Mark Carlotto, and a brilliant, he's a PhD in image processing. And we delivered them straight to Dan Golden, the head of NASA. So he knew all about this. By the way, Dan Golden hated JPL because they wouldn't follow orders. He would issue memos and stuff telling him to do this and that, and they would just ignore him. They were out on the West Coast and figured they knew better because they're scientists, and he's nothing but all he is the NASA director. And so what we found out was that NASA is a bunch of ivory towers constantly fighting each other. The left hand and the right hand not only don't know what each other is doing, but they fight. So now, what do we got here? Well, this looks like a carved face, similar to what was carved by the Olmecs. There's a fascinating parallel through this of the connection with old Mexico. So, Mexicanos must go to Mars because they will understand this place better than most Americanos. Most gringos will not understand Mars, but the Mexicanos, they will. Well, because it looks like this is the Olmec heads. By the way, you'll notice one thing is called a frame corner, also head ornaments. Those are all present. The stuff on Mars is pretty beat up. I mean, this is probably 100 million years old. Even on Mars, there is erosion, not very fast, but anyway. We have more new images. These images are taken. Anybody can see the face on Mars. Just looks at the new images. This is the pyramid on Mars. I'm going to show you something very interesting. It looks like on this thing, there's what looks like a doorway. Actually, it's not a doorway. It's a place where it looks like a bunch of brickwork. Imagine you had carved a mountain so it looked like a pyramid and then faced it with brick to prevent erosion. And then some of the brickwork had turned loose one day on some rainy day and it collapsed and fallen off. So you have a debris flow pattern and it tears away a square. So this is Galaxis Chaos. Here is a new face, and here is another face. This is the one taken in Viking. This is the one taken recently. So this is another face. So we got this thing nailed, folks. And the people at JPL know it. They know the time is running out for this cover-up. Now, all the stuff if found on Earth would be viewed as signs of a dead civilization. And apparently we knew. This is Kirby Comics, 1958, The Face on Mars. Space age had just begun. So the human race knew already that Mars was the site of a great tragedy. These pictures were released 2 weeks ago. They brought the spacecraft around and took pictures of, the doorway, confirming, yes, it looks like brickwork. So everybody knows now.